don't know at what point we're going to start to hear, and we have with a few players, but most of those have been graduate transfers that were allowable before this December 5th deadline. But December 5th was the start of the transfer portal for the undergrads. But at what point, it's going to take a lot of whether there are going to be visits in play or just conversations, and obviously coaches reaching out to players and vice versa before we're going to start to hear of players making their decisions and where they're going to land.
Yeah, I think I think one of the things that Oklahoma learned last year, that Venables and staff learned, that they, based on when they arrived and really kind of got situated and understood what the needs were and where they had to fill some holes on, and obviously their first specific area that they knew that they had to target was kind of getting control of this recruiting class that they had last year. Just because they have had several defections, and they wanted to obviously bring back as many of those as possible, and then supplement the class as much as they did a great job with that. But I think one of the things that they learned with that is understood that they were a little bit behind the eight ball, so to speak, when it comes to kind of getting in with some of those transfer portal guys. And so it's astronomical to hear, but the numbers that this Oklahoma team is wanting to bring in, and really pushing very hard about bringing in, is, again, kind of mind-boggling. But I've heard anywhere from potentially 45 to as many as 60, when you take into account the recruiting class, when you take into account the transfer portal together. So I think there's certainly a strong desire for Oklahoma to get better very, very quickly from that side. But to your point, Mark, on when some of these kids are going to start making their decisions, I think you've already seen one. And the Lacey kid from Notre Dame has already committed to Oklahoma as a transfer portal guy. So I think you're going to see some guys, make decisions and start. And some of these kids already have visits lined up, having visits here pretty soon. But I think you'll see that kind of throughout the next month or so, because I think obviously you as a staff member, as a coach, you would want to get those kids on campus just as soon as you possibly could, as you can, as it kind of coincides with the early signing period on the high school side here, as December 21st, and obviously going into the January timeframe as well. And I think Oklahoma, like I said, everything, they are extremely, extremely active in the transfer portal. They have been, and they will continue to be. I think a really big look is going to be defensive line and wide receiver. I think those are the two main areas that Oklahoma is going to do as much as they can to get where they need to be, because that was where depth kind of showed itself, and kind of the talent wasn't at the level that it needs to be for Oklahoma, especially as you kind of look at going into the SEC in a couple of years. And so yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting. But there's going to be, almost every position for Oklahoma, Mark, you're gonna look at guys. They're certainly going to have to get a quarterback, right? Because you've got Jackson Arnold coming in, but you've got two that have left, and Ralph Rucker and Nick Evers. And I don't know at this point if Davis Bevel is going to be one of those guys that gets processed eventually, or what it looks like. But yeah, they are. And there's some interesting correlations in a couple of kids where it relates to this recruiting cycle, as well as the transfer portal as well. So
Yeah, so you hit on my next question, which was going to be which positions would you prioritize in the transfer portal?